doing. Small things. Get a credit card, pay off the bill on time, don't carry a balance, but do it consistently since when you're at a young age and continue doing it. Why? It creates a paper trail of, look, this person is responsible. It's actually all about data. It's not about intent. It's not about a judgment of who you are as a person. But it may feel that way. When the apartment manager was like, I can't give you a apartment, it hurt me. Wait, are you telling me I'm not a good person? But that's not really what the credit score, the credit system actually measures. It just looks at data. Is there enough data or not? And what I would do as a young person, if I had to go back, establish that data. Get a credit card, pay it off on time, get on your parents' credit as an authorized user, get a credit card. And when you take loans, small loans, even car loans, you start establishing credit. There's some very innovative ways today.
Right.
You can build your credit history using your data such as your phone bill, your utility bill, your rent. And there are tools like Ava has built those tools, for example, and others have it as well. Establish yourself in the data ecosystem that these bureaus look at. And that's simply all you need to do. Immigrants are already very responsible. They need to show that they're responsible, not just be responsible. That's not enough in the financial ecosystem that exists.
Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant podcast with Paul Adeyeye. This is where we share powerful stories of resilience, reinvention, transformation, and success. So whether you're a new immigrant, navigating a new life, or an aspiring entrepreneur looking for inspiration, this podcast is for you. Join me as we dive into real conversations with incredible individuals who have turned challenges into opportunities. Let's learn, grow, and thrive together. Cheers to a life of abundance. Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant podcast. I'm your host, Paul Adeyeye. I'm excited about today's conversation. But before I go on, I just want to say a big thank you to you for always coming back to listen to this podcast. If you're a first timer, if you're a first listener on this podcast, I want to say welcome. This is the right place to be. My guest today is a remarkable young man, he's an immigrant, and he's going to share his story. But the beautiful thing about today's conversation is we're going to be talking about credit. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship in North America. We're going to be talking about how to build your credit and what does credit really mean. So if you really want to learn about credit system in North America, you want to learn about everything about credit, you want to learn about how to start a business, you want to learn about the experience of an immigrant in the US, this is the conversation that will really bless you. If you know someone that you think will benefit from this conversation, please share this conversation with them. If you're planning to move to North America, if you're already in North America, credit is a big deal. Everybody needs to know about credit. And if you want to build wealth, you have to understand how to navigate that system. I'm excited about today's conversation. I'm joined by a remarkable young man, the founder of Ava, and he's going to talk about what Ava does. So join me in welcoming Reza Rahman from California, US.
Thanks,
Welcome,
Paul.
Reza.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Awesome. So welcome to the Thriving Immigrant podcast. When I saw your profile, I was intrigued because I really love what you're doing. I love the problem you are solving because as a typical immigrant, trust me, most people come from countries where credits are not really practiced the way it's practiced in North America. And it's something that most people don't really understand, especially in the first 3 years. Some people make mistakes. Some people just get conflicting messages about credit. And that is what they use in building their lives. Before we go into the credit conversation, do you want to walk us through your immigration journey?
So, Paul, thank you for having me again. I came to America when I was 15 years old. I came with my parents. It was a very formative experience for me. I was in high school, and after landing over here, it's a rush of stimulation. You learn so many things. You start understanding systems, and systems that are very confusing for an immigrant. From getting a driver's license to getting a social security number to getting a bank account, these are all systems, and you have to play a part in the system. So when I first came, I went straight into school. Parents, again, coming here for the first time, were navigating life here. I was privileged, very privileged, to have parents who really encouraged me to pursue higher education. So after finishing my high school, I went to the University of Virginia. I studied electrical engineering, came out, got a great job, had lots of friends who were all Americans. And I remember when I got this great job, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get my first apartment. And the first thing they did was run my credit. And they were like, well, we can't give you this apartment. I was like, what do you mean? I have this great job offer and I need an apartment. And they said, well, we ran your credit. You don't have credit. And I was so confused. That was the first time I heard the word credit score or a credit report. So I called up my dad, and he asked one of his friends to come over, and he had to co-sign my lease. This is me, an adult with a 22-year-old with a great job offer, about to start his job, and I need somebody else to co-sign this with me. And that was my first taste of the system in which you come into as an immigrant, the system which you may not understand, and the system you don't know how to navigate. But that was my first taste. And as an immigrant, everything is a learning experience. Everything is often, for the first time, confusing. But the most important part that resonates with me as being an immigrant and having grown up around so many immigrants is optimism. No matter what the system is, we'll figure things out. Because we didn't come here to be lazy. We didn't come here to be just nonchalant and not fight our way through what needs to be done. And that optimism always at every step. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out. I don't know what it is, I'll figure it out. And that has continued to this point in my life as an immigrant, as a first-generation immigrant, but also a first-generation immigrant who started a business, who started a company for the first time in my family.
Wow.
And for me, the immigrant spirit of optimism is something that can overcome a lot of difficulties.
That's
but
correct.
the systems in which we operate sometimes feel like they're holding us back. And one of my life's mission has been to make these systems more fair, not because they're unfair inherently, but more fair to those who use it and those who don't understand it. And using technology to be the tool that can solve these problems for everyday immigrants and everyday people in general.
Wow, Reza, there's a lot to unpack in your 3-minute introduction. I don't know if it's up to 3 minutes. You've talked about so many things. You've touched on optimism is a very big one for me. And I can relate because as a fellow immigrant, when you pack your bags, you are leaving certainty for uncertainty. And there are so many things that you're going to learn, maybe in the easy way or the hard way, when you find yourself in a new country. I feel like you even had some privileges because you moved there as, I wouldn't say you were a kid, but at least you had someone to help you in navigating those things. Your parents will probably have a different story because they had to take care of themselves. They had to take care of you and your siblings. But like you said, luckily, you went to school, you graduated, you got a good job. Thank you for sharing those stories. I can relate because I'm a fellow immigrant. And I'm proud of what you've accomplished, like all the things you've done in your career to the point where you decided to start your company. That's remarkable. So let's take it back to that first day when you needed to rent a place, even though you already had a good job, you still needed someone to co-sign for you because your credit was bad. Now, looking back, what are the things that you should have done to prepare you for that first lease in a way that you won't need someone to co-sign with you? Or let me start by saying, what is credit?
Actually, let's start with that. That's more important. So credit simply is borrowing, the ability to borrow money. And underlying that is risk. How risky is this person? So a credit score in the United States, and it's determined by the three main bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. They determine how risky you are as an individual, and risk can be anything, right? Lending you money, giving you an apartment, right? These are all measures of risk that is determined when somebody gives you either an apartment or a loan. And it is a very important score because it either opens doors or closes doors for you when it comes to finances. And here is the tricky and the most frustrating part as an immigrant is that at its core, the US financial system is built to reward people who already have history in it. So you determine risk by looking at history. But if you're an immigrant, you don't have much of a history here. Your history is back home.
I like that point. I like that point. Yeah.
And you can't transfer your history from your country to this country, right? So the financial system looks at you as like, you're nobody. We don't know anything about you.
It's working against you.
If I don't know anything about you, why should I lend you money? You're risky. It doesn't actually ask, are you good with money? In fact, research and studies have shown immigrants are actually very financially responsible. But a credit score or a credit doesn't ask, are you good with money? Basically, it says, the question is asked is, have you played long enough in this game? And most immigrants have not. And all these signals are backward looking, right? Backward looking as in how many payments have you made in your lifetime? How many successful payments have you had on loans or credit cards? Does the system see you in its data, right? That's what it really measures. It's backward looking. So if I had to go back and do something, I tell people, for parents especially, add your children to your credit card as an authorized user. Immediately, you start building credit. You start building a credit history. You start building those backward-looking signals that financial institutions are looking for. Other things that I recommend doing, small things, get a credit card, pay off the bill on time, don't carry a balance, but do it consistently since when you're at a young age and continue doing it. Why? It creates a paper trail of, look, this person is responsible. It's actually all about data. It's not about intent. It's not about a judgment of who you are as a person. But it may feel that way. When the apartment manager was like, I can't give you a proper, it hurt me. Wait, are you telling me I'm not a good person? But that's not really what the credit score, the credit system actually measures. It just looks at data. Is there enough data or not? And what I would do as a young person, if I had to go back, establish that data. Get a credit card, pay it off on time, get on your parents' credit as an authorized user, get a credit card. And when you take loans, small loans, even car loans, you start establishing credit. There's some very innovative ways today.
Right.
You can build your credit history using your data such as your phone bill, your utility bill, your rent. And there are tools like Ava has built those tools, for example. And others have it as well. Establish yourself in the data ecosystem that these bureaus look at. And that's simply all you need to do. Immigrants are already very responsible. They need to show that they're responsible, not just be responsible. That's not enough in the financial ecosystem that exists today.
Thank you, Reza. You really touch on so many valid points in this one. And I want to take you back to the one of adding your children to your credit card. At what age can you do that for your child? Is there any age limit?
Yeah. Based on the current regulations, and it might vary a little bit depending on the card issuer, and I don't know what the rules and laws are in Canada, but you can do it as early as 16. You can add them as a authorized user when they're literally teenagers and teach them also responsible money behavior, right? One of the things that financial institutions also look for is, are you a responsible person? But that, as a young person, maybe you're not responsible as much, but your parents are there. And as a parent, you can start both showing them practical ways to make sure you pay your credit card bill on time. You're an authorized user. I can see what you're spending on, and then help them establish that data in the credit ecosystem.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take you further to ask you, are there any risk to adding your children to your credit card, either for the child or for you as the parent?
Well, there are two risks.
Okay.
One risk is, you have to make sure your children understand spending on a credit card, right? So you have to have that conversation with them that, look, you cannot overspend on this. You can't blow through the credit card and actually spend any amount of money you have. There's a little bit of loss of control, right? With cash, you know exactly how much cash you have. My dad used to give me a pocket money, right? He knew exactly how much he gave me, and I couldn't spend more than that because it was cash. But a credit card is a little bit different. It's a little bit more advanced tool, and you have to have a conversation with your children when you do add them as an authorized user. And I think the second risk is paying the bill on time. So you cannot miss your payments. And you as a parent have to do it, but you also have to start teaching your children that you have to be very on top of your payments. It can't be like, well, the payment is due today, I'll pay it next week. That is not going to work.
Right.
So it is, and you have to be organized. But those are good skill sets to build up, because as your children grow, they have to build those skill sets. And again, that's what the financial institutions are looking for. Do you have the skill sets, the mindset, and the discipline to borrow money, large amounts of money at times, and be responsible and organized enough to pay it back on time?
Okay, so what you're saying now is a 13-year-old can be added to a credit card of his parents?
Again, I have to look. I don't think a 13-year-old can, but I think there's certain age limits. It depends again on the bank,
Yeah.
state, the regulators. Depends.
Okay.
But I've seen as early as 15 to 16 is when children are being added as authorized users on credit cards. So it depends on states, region.
Yeah.
You have to look at the exact rules where you are. But by the time a child is 18, almost everywhere you can get a credit card under your name.
Okay. I feel like the major responsibility is to even teach the kids on how to do these things so they don't wait till age 22 after getting their first job and they now need to leave the house and get a rent and now realize that their credit is bad. Okay. Now, for an immigrant, there are so many misinformation out there about building credit, credit score, and all. Are there any misconceptions that you are aware of about?
They're
Maybe
Thank
top three.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the most important one, and that tends to hurt immigrants the most. It's that you can just avoid the system. Just avoid it. Don't touch it. Don't get involved. And there's some reasons for it. It's fear. It's lack of understanding. There are language barriers. But you cannot live in this country and not be part of the fundamental core of its financial system. And that will hurt you in the longer run. And any immigrant I talk to, they're like, "Oh, I don't understand this." I'm like, "Then let's try to understand it." But you cannot avoid it. It's similar to like not getting a driver's license. Well, you have to learn how to drive. It's just very hard, and you won't get very far if you just avoid those things. And I think that's the first part. And I think the second part is actually something a little bit deeper, which is I want to avoid debt. And I think avoiding debt, my father all his life avoided debt. Debt is neutral. It can be good debt, it can be bad debt. I don't encourage people to get into debt, but I do say that certain things enable you to move forward, and it is done through the mechanism of debt, like owning a home. Most immigrants cannot buy a home in cash. Very few can. So does that mean that you avoid debt and never buy a home and actually own a home and have a roof and build equity and wealth? No. So there is good debt, there's bad debt. I say where debt is needed, it is something that you have to understand and then make sure that you have the mechanisms in place to access debt when you need it. I'll give you another example. A lot of immigrants are business owners.
Right.
But if you're not going to work or figure out how to find financing for your business is going to be very limited.
Yeah,
and you will not be able to grow.
That's correct.
And you might say, well, that's it. I don't want to take the risk. But you're not growing your business, and you're leaving a lot of potential on the table. So that is another misconception that I just want to avoid. I just want to run my little shop. You can be more ambitious. You can do more if you are able to successfully navigate the financial ecosystem. And I think the third part is actually the opposite of it, is debt has consequences. So I've also seen immigrants take on debt, too much debt, more debt than they can handle, and then get into trouble, hurt their credit scores. Then banks don't want to lend to you when you need to. During the financial crisis of 2008, 7-8, a lot of immigrants bought homes, but then couldn't afford the mortgage. So the reverse also exists. And you have to be very, very thoughtful about what you can afford and what is the debt for. Is it for lifestyle, or is it to gain an education or build a business? And the misconceptions go both ways. And last thing I will say, underlying all of this is actually an understanding of the system, and using it in the right way is the most important thing.
Yeah, these are very valuable points and very, very important. And I can relate to a lot of things that you've said. Most of my friends are immigrants. I love how you talked about avoiding debt. And it's because we're not used to it back in our home countries. So we don't really have that risk appetite to say. I remember at some point, I didn't even want to see on my statement that I'm owing $500. It disturbed me. And most immigrants struggle with that. So I would say it's normal to feel that way in the beginning, especially when you don't understand how the system works. So I really like that point that you talked about. And for business owners, which is very, very important, if you're really trying to grow your business, you need money, you need funding. And one of the ways to do that is to leverage debt. That's why we're talking about the good debt, the bad debt. So fantastic point. Thank you, Reza. I'm loving this. So if you're loving this conversation, hit the subscription button, share this conversation with someone, follow Reza Rahman on LinkedIn. He's going to talk about how to contact him shortly. So moving to the next question, I would really love you to talk about your career. Like, can you walk us through that first job to the point where you decided to start your business, just for an immigrant listening to you right now?
And look, as an immigrant, one of the most important values my parents taught me was the value of education. They didn't know that I was going to start a company one day. They didn't know that I was going to work at some of the best Silicon Valley companies, but they knew that how important education was. So the foundation of any success I had, I owed to my parents and their push towards education and the importance of it. And after I finished my education, undergraduate degree at University of Virginia in engineering, I went and worked in a consulting firm, and then I went to business school for 2 years. Came out with an MBA, and I was all set. Like, all right, let's do the corporate rounds. And I got a job. I was happy, and then one of my friends said, "Hey, look, you're an engineer. You understand technology." And everything that's happening around technology is happening in Silicon Valley. So I interviewed with a couple of companies, and I worked at LinkedIn actually in Mountain View. And again, it was a very let's work hard, do the job, and get a salary mindset. As an immigrant, that is a lot, and that's something to be very, very grateful for. Especially living in America, where I have had this opportunity, working at such amazing companies. And then one thing that happened accidentally to me was a startup reached out and said, "Hey, look, we're looking for somebody for this position. Do you want to come interview?" And I joined that startup. And that's where I first got the taste of entrepreneurship because it was a startup. I looked at the founders. I looked at them. It's like, wow, these are amazing individuals, but I could do that too.
Interesting.
Right. And I think that is the most important, mind shift that I think immigrants must try to make. It's that they can do it too. Because every single company, from Facebook to Google to Apple, were built by human beings. We're just like that. They were all startups, they were all small, and they were built by human beings who are just like you. And that is the switch that is really important. And I had mentors around me that kept, telling me about this, and I saw that firsthand. And finally, I went to Stripe, another startup that is massively successful right now, and I have friends. And the environment around me was all about entrepreneurship. If you come to San Francisco, the Silicon Valley, it's very, everyone wants to start companies. They want to build something, and they want to be successful. And I saw immigrants who were successful. The CEO of Google is an immigrant, first-generation immigrant. I was surrounded by first-generation immigrants who were CEOs and founders. And that helped a lot. So putting yourself in the right environment, I tell every immigrant, everyone who's willing to listen to me, is that you have to put yourself in the right environment of positivity, optimism, and you have to stay away from negativity and defeatism as much as possible. That helped a lot for me personally. It was more psychological than skill sets. My skill sets are not that different from the average person. It's the psychology that is extremely, extremely important in my view.
That's a very deep point.
Yeah. And then finally, I would say, one of my best friends, who was also a neighbor, and he and I used to work in the same company. And one day we were like, "Hey, look, like I said, if others can do it, why not us?" And I got a lot of support from my wife. She said, "Go for it. Let's go for this." And so we put together a pitch, went to one of our ex bosses, who was then a venture capital partner, and then pitched this idea to him. And I can tell you all about our vision, but I think it was more about the network, the environment that really helped us. And there were many other immigrants over here who inspired us to go do this. Everything else started falling in place, the financing, the idea, the technology. But the most overarching factor that helped me and my founders, who are both also first-generation immigrants, is the mindset that we can do this, it's doable, and we will navigate through this. There were a lot of unknowns. We made a lot of mistakes.
Okay.
But that optimism that we can do this, it's been done before, why not us? It kept pushing us forward. And we started the company in 2020 in the middle of COVID, and we haven't looked back since.
Wow, beautiful. So you guys have been doing this for 6 years. Thank you for sharing all those wonderful stories. I know you must have gone through some challenges. Now you've been a full-time entrepreneur for 6 years. Is that correct? Looking back, in one sentence, can you describe entrepreneurship for you? How has it been?
Entrepreneurship is all about betting on yourself. That's all it is. The challenges are nothing unique. People face those challenges. The stresses are also there in a corporate job and in entrepreneurship. But it's really about asking yourself, kind of like, can I bet on myself? And that's what it really comes down to. And anyone who's willing to bet on themselves, I think, have what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Beautiful. Okay, so if you are listening to this and you know you are ready to bet on yourself, and you know the interesting thing about it, there's a twist to that, because most immigrants actually bet on themselves by moving from their country.
Already have bet on themselves. Keep going.
Yeah. So
Keep
why
going,
not
don't
just
stop.
keep going? Thank you, Reza. That's so beautiful to hear. So I think you guys are three who founded this company, correct? So maybe somebody's listening to you right now. He's in that position of starting his own company and is looking for partners. When you're looking for partners, what are the things that you would recommend that people should look out for?
Yeah. More than anything else, the most important factor is trust. I fully 100% trust my co-founders, and that is non-negotiable. After you have 100% trust, when you really believe that you can work with them, you trust their judgment and you trust their integrity, you can go on to other things, skill sets, experience, ability to do the work and build the things we need to build. I think those things come into play. But trust is the most important one. And also, second would be just alignment in what you want out of life. Entrepreneurship is just a path, but where is it going to take you is the most important part. And is that the path all of us are picking? For us, we were all in alignment that we wanted to do something ambitious. We wanted to reach our potential, and we were in alignment on that. Making money is important, no doubt about it. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't the overarching reason why we started this journey. We wanted to bet on ourselves because we wanted to reach our potential. We were ambitious, and we believed that we could do this. Those alignments, those integrity and trust, along with alignment, will get you through a lot of the hurdles you run into starting and building a company.
Wow, this has been an very insightful conversation. It's like a masterclass. I know somebody's listening to you right now, trying to make a decision, or maybe just starting his company. Thank you for sharing all those valuable insights with me. You guys recently secured, I think, $15 million. I don't know if it's still recent. I want to ask you, what is venture capital? So you see this online, you say, oh, this company secures 20 billion VC funding. So for someone who doesn't even understand what this means, do you want to speak a little bit about?
Venture capital is very simple, is the funding by venture capital firms for companies they believe are going to be game-changing in the industries that they're building. And the underpinning of this is they have some technological expertise, uniqueness that's going to help them get there. So that's why most venture capital firms, startups funded by venture capital firms, tend to be technology companies. Most of them, not all, because the underlying belief is that they have something special in terms of technology. They're approaching something from a unique way, and they're going to be a big company. So venture capital in that sense is up for mostly technology-based startups.
Okay.
For high, fast-growing companies. And it comes with some unique insight or some unique way that you're going to change the industry. Just think about Google changed how we access information. Meta was about how do you build social connections through technology and through platforms. And Apple, again, was venture backed at one point, and it's about a different way of building computers and get people access to computing. So all great technology companies, almost all of them, have been venture backed.
Okay.
And raising capital helps you make the first leap into building that technology, because it is expensive to build this technology.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a good way to break it up. So when companies win this money, or when they secure this funding, let me use the right term, do they have to pay it back? Is it like a grant, or is it a loan, or
It's not a grant or a loan. What it is equity financing, which means they take a share of your company.
I see.
So our venture firms often at our stage own anywhere between 15 to 20% of the company. So their bet is that your company is going to be big, it's going to be very successful, and they will own a percentage of the company. The money since it's equity financing, it's not debt. You don't have to pay it back, but you also sometimes have to give up board seats on your startup when you raise money from venture capital firms.
Wow, that's a good way to say it. Which means there's a level of risk to the people granting or providing that capital to the company. Because if the company is a bet, if the company doesn't do well and the company eventually goes under, they've lost all the money.
Yeah, and actually venture capital, the whole business model of venture capital is that most startups actually don't work. Most startups actually die. because they're technology and they're very, very high, big bets on technology. But venture capital firms are okay with that because when one of them is successful,
it's a big one.
It's a very big one. So that's just how their business model works. And they know that.
And they're comfortable with it.
That's why they're always looking for the next Facebook.
Yeah.
And Apple and Instagram and such. So they understand that. But as a individual who's taking venture capital firm, you have to ask yourself, where I'm playing in the high stakes kind of environment. And the goal is to build a very successful startup. And the venture capital firms want that. You want that. So everything is working in your favor. You just have to understand what you're getting into.
Wow. So insightful. I'm loving the conversation. I don't want to continue asking you about venture capital, but this will be the last one. What are some of the mistakes that founders make when they are trying to secure funding from venture capital funding?
I would say not understanding how the venture capital model works. It hurts many startup founders because venture capital firms want big returns. And if you don't have the ambition to build a successful, massive, industry-changing company, you should avoid taking venture capital. If you just want to build a small business, fund your lifestyle, it is better to do it in other ways. Either bootstrap it, raise money from friends and family, depending on the industry, maybe you take loans. But venture capital is for big swings, home runs. So you swing and a miss, that's okay. But if you should be trying to hit a home run. And not understanding how that works sometimes hurts a lot of founders because the expectations are very, very, very intense. The expectation is that you have to grow, you have to get bigger, you have to move really fast, and the pressure is intense. And if you're not up for that, it's not the right way to build a business.
Is there like, I promised that will be the last. This will be the last. Is there like a platform where you can go and search for venture capitalists and all that?
Well, I mean, you can go to Google and basically ask what are the top venture capital firms.
Okay.
Then there are different types of venture capital. You have incubators like Y Combinator. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And so there are many mechanisms. I don't think there's one place where you can just search, but I think if you just do a general search, it's very well known how the industry works, who the biggest players are, and who the best partners might be for the industry and the idea that you have. So there's plenty of reading out there. And if anyone's interested, they should just read as much as possible. Talk to people who founded companies. All this information is there. None of this should be a mystery, but it's all about navigating that system in the right way.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Eva, the unique products that you've built with your co-founders. I know that you guys are solving a unique problem. At least I know that's for the immigrant community. But I wanted to speak to that. Like, what do you guys do? What problem are you solving? How is Eva helping our credit score in the US?
Yeah, Eva is helping solve the problem exactly the way the exact problem that I mentioned earlier when I was trying to get my apartment. I didn't have a credit history. Eva, our mission is to help everyone have control of their financial lives, starting with their credit, and increase their buying power. That's our mission. We want every person in this country to have control over their finance, have the best credit score possible, and use that to increase their buying power. And our vision overall is that money should work for you and automatically without you thinking about it. So we really believe in artificial intelligence helping people get stress off their back, increase their buying power, and live better lives. That's what our vision is. Specifically right now, what our product does is we help people get to the best credit score possible, as fast as possible, with as little effort as possible, and stress as possible. So what you do is you download Ava. It's a simple app. You ask a few questions. We check your background. Again, it's important because financial regulations require that.
Yeah.
Check your, social security number and so on and so forth. And as soon as you land into our homepage, you basically have a suite of features that help you build your credit history. A credit building card, a secured loan. I mentioned, remember, rent, utility reporting. All of the going back up to 2 years, building your credit history, going back up to 2 years with your rent and utilities. And we have all of that in one subscription package. And then we power you with insights. We give you credit factors. What's helping your credit? What's hurting your credit? What should you do education so that you don't start making mistakes. And we make all of this as simple, effortless as possible. All of this takes less than 5 minutes to set up. And we set up your bank accounts automatically so you don't miss payments, so that while you're working, doing your daily activities, going on with your life, your credit is being built. Credit history is being built in the background.
That's
And
powerful.
our second part of our pillar that we're building and working on is helping AI to do more work for you. For example, let's say your credit score is getting better and you have a car loan. What we will do is we will look for better rates on your car loan in the background. And you don't even have to worry about it. We'll look for better rates. We'll find opportunities to save you money. And then we'll ask you, hey, do you want this? And this is how much money it'll save you. And all you have to do is click on a button and we'll do all the work for you.
I think that's beautiful.
So our product's, vision really actually came from when we saw data after data after data that people make a lot of mistakes when it comes to their finances. It's very hard because it's not transparent, the system. And I once told my co-founder, look, we have self-driving cars, right? Why don't we have self-driving money? Like everything is self-driving, things will do automatically. But when it comes to finances, why does it have to be so hard, right? Why isn't it automated, simpler, better, more elegant, and more delightful?
Yeah.
And that's where, that's why we started.
I think that's very innovative. And I want to commend you guys for what you are building. You're solving a unique problem. Is Eva in Canada or just in the US?
It's only in the US.
Do you have plans to expand to Canada?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know Canada is a smaller market, but the problem is the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is there globally. And again, part of our vision is that no matter where you are in the world, when it comes to money and finances, it should be without stress. Something should always be there helping you do better with money.
Right.
I also tell this to, people who are willing to hear, like billionaires and really rich people have CFOs and finance experts doing all the work for them. Why can't an average person have that too? And I think with the advent of AI,
right,
it is possible more and more to create and build these tools for the everyday person. And they deserve it.
I agree with you completely. We've seen some tremendous progress in the AI space. We've seen how AI is solving problems on a scale that is incredible. Yeah. And I'm excited about the future when I look at the things that AI is helping people to do right now, things that we couldn't even think about solving 5 years ago. Like, it's amazing.
I agree.
What a time to be alive.
Yes.
It's been a great time with you, Reza. I can keep you here all day, go on, and I really enjoyed talking to you. I've learned so much from your story, but I think we should call it a day at this point. I'll be glad to have you again, maybe this time around with some of your co-founders.
Absolutely. Anytime. We love, again, like I said, we are all immigrants.
Yeah.
In this company, the founding team, and it's near and dear to our heart, the immigrant community. We face the challenges, but we also know it's not about the challenges. It's actually the positives that make it so amazing that immigrants are making the impact they're making. And the more we can help them navigate the system, not just, do favors for them. No, they will do the hard work. Immigrants are going to work really hard. It's just helping them navigate so that they can actually get to their goals. And it's a privilege to work for this community.
Wow. That's so profound. Thank you. Thank you for being a thriving immigrant, and special shout out to your wife, to your co-founders. I'm rooting for you guys. So what do you think is the future of Eva?
The future, as I mentioned, we are having the technology, the platform that actually helps everyone's buying power improve their lives so they can live better, even if it's inch by inch, a little bit, removing the stress of money. That's what we're working towards. And every month we're shipping new features, getting more feedback from our users. We already have hundreds and thousands of people using our product. I want to get it to millions. And if anyone's interested in checking us out, we are at www.meeteva.com.
Okay.
And my email is reza@meeteva.com. Drop me a line if you have questions, and I'm more than
awesome. And you can follow Reza Rahman or follow Eva on LinkedIn if you want to connect with the company or with Reza. Thank you, Reza, for coming to the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.